Today, NEFSA provides a look at one of our very first sponsors, Port Clyde Fresh Catch.
When you have a business like this, you're married to it, and it requires almost 100% of your attention. It's an awful lot like going dragging, where you're on the boat 24/7 for 6 days a week, 5 days a week, what have you. You're just on it all the time. You just can't say, I think I'll leave early today. Because you got customers waiting for product. And if you want to keep them, you gotta keep them fed.
The shoreside phase of longtime fisherman Glen Libby's career finds him overseeing daily operations at Port Clyde Fresh Catch, which is the outgrowth of the very first community-supported fishery in the whole country, and perhaps even the world.
Part of the plan was to process and sell our own catch. We'll show those middlemen. We'll just bring them all in here and fillet them and sell them. Nothing to it. My utopian vision was, all the fishermen will go out and catch fish, then they'll come in and fillet their own fish and package them and sell them. We'll work on selling them, or have somebody making phone calls to sell them. The first thing we did was called the CSF, Community Supported Fishery. We set it up. The Island Institute got involved, helped us. We started selling shares. And then every week, we'd hire people to drive around from here to Belfast and Damariscotta, covered quite a range. They'd come and get their little bag. We'd put whole fish in. And then every once in a while, we'd say, okay, we're gonna have a fish cutting demo. That would bring them out. And the people would come and we'd demonstrate how to sharpen the knives and cut their own fish. It was pretty fun. And we didn't make any money. We spent a lot of time and met a lot of people, and I got thinking, it's a hell of a lot easier for them to come here and buy it than for us to drive around every Sunday and hand out bags of fish. It was a great education. We got done with the CSF, and one of the girls knew how to pick crab meat. Nobody else knew how to pick crab meat. She goes, what about crab meat? That was the beginning of the beginning. The moral of the story is processing all our own fish and selling it turned out to be a lot more work than anybody knew. They wanted to come in and unload their fish, let somebody else deal with it, go home and drink a beer. They didn't want to come in and unload their fish and go down and fillet the fish, package the fish, sell the fish, even though they could have got a little bit more money for it. But all we were doing was replacing one middleman for another one. Being a fisherman and trying to do all that, which I was fishing, trying to run the mid-coast. I was on the Maine Marine Resources Advisory Council and trying to run a processing operation all at the same time. No wonder I ended up with a double organ transplant.
When Glen's health forced him off his feet and into the hospital several years ago, the experience ended up bringing to fruition a book in collaboration with fine artist Tony Small. Her images and Glen's words jointly formed an immersive account of the Port Clyde CSF journey, as well as the fishery dynamics that had precipitated Glen and other mid-coast fishermen's plunge into uncharted territory.
When I was first diagnosed with autoimmune hepatitis, and I nearly died, I was close. I was just yellow as that banner. I didn't want to stop working. My wife says, you're going to the hospital. We thought it was lupus recurring, because I was diagnosed with lupus at 19. And I almost died from that too. I was down to 130 pounds, looked like a skeleton, but I was still digging clams. And then this other stuff hit. They took an ultrasound of my liver, and the doctor on call, she was crying. She said, we think you might only have about 3 months to live, maybe. And I didn't feel that bad. I knew something was wrong, but I'm like, no. First thing I said was, okay, so what do we do now? And my wife says, no, you're sending him to Boston. Well, they brought me back from the dead. I wrote the book. I waited 8 years, and then I got the call for transplant. And away we went. And that was a year ago, a little over a year ago. I got about as much energy as I had when I was 30. I think I do. I'm probably not quite, but close.
Thanks to modern medicine, Glen continues to keep a loyal fan base fed with fresh catch staples, especially their crab meat. It's always in demand, not only due to the sustainable, wild-caught nature of the product, but because Glen's team has fine-tuned their process to reduce shell fragments to the absolute minimum, while keeping the meat juicy and in beautiful shape. You're not going to find a container more densely packed with solid, wild-caught Maine crab meat that has less shells than what Port Clyde Fresh Catch offers.
It's been a learning curve. There's quite a few shells in that crab meat at first, or that crab meat was full of shells. That's not what you want to hear. Mainly the shells came from trying to pick the bodies, because the bodies are full of really flimsy cartilage. Unless you're a surgeon, you got to go in there with a little knife that you had somebody make on a grinder for you. My mother had one, a paring knife with a little hook on it, because she picked crab meat. That's a picture of her over there behind. She's kind of covered there, but that's her picking crab meat. But she was actually picking for me then. She's about 85. She's passed away since, but they break the legs off and pick the bodies. But this is production here, so you have to give up something in order to get a volume out. But we've refined the process down now to where we eliminate shells. You don't mess with the bodies, you eliminate most of the shells.
Good news for people who don't live near Mid-Coast Maine. Glen will ship it right to your door.
We started shipping stuff UPS. I remember the first time I tried to ship anything UPS. I went over to Atwood's on Spruce Head, bought a box with a styro liner, because we didn't have nothing like that. We didn't know what to do. Came back, we loaded the box and lugged it up to Rockland and dropped it off and had them print a label for us. Now I just log on to the website, I print the labels out, and I got a whole inventory of styros of different sizes upstairs and all the packaging. Package comes once a week and delivers all that crap. I don't have to go anywhere. Put stuff out on the loading dock, the UPS truck comes and picks it up. I put it out there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and by 10 o'clock in the morning it's in Connecticut, or Kittery, or Portland, or wherever.
Another must-try is their signature crab cake, which has sold millions because once you try it, you're hooked for life.
I've had people come in, $6 for a crab cake. I go, yeah, but it's 3/4 crab meat, almost. Now the people have had them, they come in, hey, can I get a couple dozen of those? They are so good. And I'll backpack them and put them in the freezer. People are calling. I got an order for 100 crab cakes, 50 shrimp cakes, and 50 fish cakes. I got here at 4 a.m., started working. I do every day, racing around like a madman, packing orders. Crab cakes, haddock fillets, and frozen chowder pieces. Plus run around and do the daily orders and all the UPS orders and help pick crab meat. Probably still working 150 hours a week. No, I think what if I got it down to 6 times 12, 60, 70, I cut it in half, slackened. But I love it. It's a challenge. There's some mornings you wake up and you're like, oh man, I don't really want to get up now because this is so comfortable. But once I get upright, I'm like one of those dolls. You know them dolls, you lay them down and the eyes shut. That's me, that's exactly how I am. Laying down, I'm like, once I get up, my eyes open, I'm ready to go. I'm just glad to be here, that's what I tell people.